What is going on, everybody? It is Luke Beller, and today I want to talk about the Aaron Jones situation, sort of what's going on with his contract, and sort of give my thoughts on why personally I just don't think the Packers need to bring him back coming into the 2021 season. So I'll sort of give my thoughts on why that is, as well as, potentially what our backfield could look like in the 2021 season. Maybe Jamal Williams, maybe A.J. Dillon, maybe some other free agent wide receivers, or not wide receivers, running backs, obviously. So I'm going to cover that in today's video. But if you guys are new to the channel, put up Packers news, breakdowns, analysis like 5 to 6 times a week. So if you want to see that, feel free to subscribe to the channel and turn on those post notifications. So when we take a look at this Packers backfield, there's no doubt Aaron Jones has been a beast. We take a look at his stats for the 2020 season. He was 4th in rushing yards, 1,104 rushing yards, and he also averaged 5.6 yards per carry, which was 2nd among all running backs. So, there's a very good argument as to why he should be paid as a top 5 running back, just sort of looking at his production solely. And it did come out recently. The Packers actually did offer him top 5 money. There's a quote here from Rob Demovsky. It says the Packers had a deal on the table that would have made Jones among the top 5 highest paid backs in the league, but that was in terms of average per year. The big guaranteed money was missing. So it seems that earlier, whenever that was, maybe a couple months ago, the Packers decided to offer Aaron Jones that big, massive contract, but because of the guaranteed money missing, he decided he didn't want to take that deal. When you take a look at running backs, it makes sense. They're a lot more injury prone. And so Aaron Jones probably wants to get some more guaranteed money up front just in case he does go down. And so one reason, with the salary cap as it is, being $25 million over the cap, I don't see the Packers, wanting to spend that money up front on Aaron Jones. But sort of the bigger reason that I sort of don't think they should sign him sort of has to do with this tweet I came across yesterday. So take a look here. I quote tweeted it yesterday. So I said, here's a case for the Packers don't need to re-sign Aaron Jones. It would definitely be sad to see him go, but it could be the right move. So there's a tweet here from Marcus, I think it's Mosher. It says, take a look at the leading rusher from the last 12 Super Bowls and their base salary. So here is every running back who is a leading rusher for the winning Super Bowl team and basically how much they were being paid per year. And as you can see here, the highest a guy was being paid was Percy Harvin at $2.5 million. You can see these other guys, $2 million, $1 million, $480,000, $900,000, $760,000. So as you can see, these running backs on these winning Super Bowl teams were not being paid much at all. And so to think that the Packers would pay Aaron Jones $14 million, which would be 11 or 12 million more than any running back in the past 11 years who's been on a Super Bowl winning team, I just don't think it's a good idea. Even if the Packers had a ton of room in salary cap, I feel like it could be much more beneficial to use that money on a different position, like a cornerback, like another defensive lineman. I just think there's so many more pressing needs than the running back position. And I think when you just sort of take a look at that chart, it just sort of just shows how much easier it is to find some kind of running back who is a lot cheaper. Aaron Jones is a prime example, considering he was drafted in the 4th round. The Packers could find another guy like that in the draft this year. Plus, we have so many other running backs on our team that I think could definitely get the job done, but we'll cover that more a little bit later in this video. And so then also, when we sort of take a look at the past in running backs who have been signed massive contracts, lots of times it just hasn't really gone very well for the teams who ended up paying big money for these running backs, in their second contract. Because, coming out of the draft, these guys get a lot smaller deals. They're cheaper in the first, 3 to 4 years of their contracts. Just as Aaron Jones for the first 4 years of his contract, has been pretty cheap. And we've gotten great production out of a somewhat, cheap rookie contract. And so first off, a guy I want to take a look at, sort of an example, I think is, sort of why the Packers shouldn't sign Aaron Jones. We have Ezekiel Elliott, who was a beast, 2016 to 2018. I have his stats right here. First in yards per game for 3 years. Partly, though, as you can see, that's just because they gave him the ball so many times. In 2016, 5.1 yards per carry, 6th in the NFL. And then 2017, 4.1 yards per carry, 24th in the NFL. And 2018, 4.6 yards per carry, 24th in the NFL. So he signed his big contract in 2019, which was a 6-year, $90 million contract. So that's like $15 million a year. First off, I don't think they should have signed him to that. Because, taking a look at his yards per carry, if you're going to give a guy a ball like 20 to 25 times a game, he's going to be up there when it comes to yards per game. Like if Aaron Jones would have been given the ball as much as Zeke was given the ball, he would have, beat pretty much every other running back when it comes to yards. Just as Derrick Henry, he has yet less yards per carry than Aaron Jones by 0.3 yards, I believe. But he obviously has more yards because the Titans are we're just going to feed you the ball over and over and over and over again. So Zeke definitely got lots of carries. They decided, okay, we're going to pay up big time. And then 2019, He still, I mean, pretty much performed the same when you take a look solely at rushing. 4.5 yards per carry, 20th. Was actually, I guess, 5th in yards per game, so they probably gave him the ball a little less. And then this season, he's really declined in 2020, only having 4 yards per carry, which was 42nd in the NFL. Not good at all. 18th in yards per game. So now the Cowboys are probably sitting back, looking back at 2019, thinking, man, we are paying Ezekiel Elliott $15 million a year, and there are 41 other guys in the NFL who we could have who would be better than him. So they're probably thinking, maybe we should have just picked up some other cheap running back, maybe a rookie running back, maybe some other free agent who could have, performed better than Ezekiel Elliott. And that's just one example. You think of other guys like Le'Veon Bell. He was a beast with the Steelers. He has that 1 year where he opts out or whatever that was. He goes to the Jets, just bad news there as well. The Jets pay him up. And as you know, the Jets haven't been good at all recently. And then we have another one, Todd Gurley. He was tearing up the league. They pay him big, and then, things don't really go well for him as well. So there's just been countless examples of, why it isn't a good idea to pay a running back his second, massive contract when there's so many other guys can come in. And one of the reasons, too, for running backs as to why, they just don't perform well as they get older, they're getting the ball so many times. They have so much more wear and tear than pretty much any position in football. You take a guy like Tom Brady, who's 43. Obviously, he can do that because he's sitting there back in the pocket. He's not getting hit as much. And so, there's no way running backs can make it into their mid-40s. I mean, Frank Gore, he seems to be, trying to test Father Time. Maybe he can do it. But overall, the majority of running backs don't really perform too well after they're 25 years old. And so with Aaron Jones being 26, I just don't think it's the best idea to pay him that much money. And then too, looking at the salary cap as it is, the Packers it seems like they were willing to pay him an average of $12 to $15 million a year if he was getting offered top 5 money. Just imagine what could be done to the Packers are okay, let's pay a cornerback top 12 to 15 money and then find some other cheap running back who can, maybe produce at 75 to 85% of Aaron Jones. I think that's a much better idea. So now, okay, let's say Aaron Jones doesn't sign with the Packers. Who knows what's going to happen in this offseason? Let's say he doesn't sign. What's the Packers backfield going to look like? What should they do when it comes to the running back position? So first off, of course, we have Jamal Williams as well. He will also be a free agent, and who knows what's going to happen there. When we take a look at Jamal Williams, 2020, he averaged 4.3 yards per carry, which was 34th in the NFL. And obviously, the Packers could sign Jamal Williams to a much cheaper deal than Aaron Jones, and who knows how much that would be, I'm not sure. But even if we didn't have Jamal Williams, the guy that I just really have a lot of hope for on this Packers rushing attack is A.J. Dillon. We saw him not too much in the 2020 season. He only had 46 attempts, but in those 46 attempts, he averaged 5.3 yards per carry. And I know it's not a massive sample size. You probably can't predict his entire future off of those 46 attempts. But he was averaging 5.3 yards per carry, which was actually better than Derrick Henry, who averaged 5.2 yards per carry. And we'll definitely sort of need to see some more from him, to sort of see if he can sort of reach that Derrick Henry level, which will be difficult, but I definitely think he has the ability to do it. And just the fact that the Packers decided to draft A.J. Dillon in the second round, they have lots of belief in him. And coming into his second year, if Aaron Jones ends up leaving, and let's say they decide to keep Jamal Williams as well as A.J. Dillon, I really see A.J. Dillon taking over that number 1 role from Jamal Williams. I think he is a much better player than Jamal Williams overall. And so I do think A.J. Dillon could be the future of the running back, for the next few years for the Green Bay Packers. And then one other thing I sort of want to take a look at is, when we think about Aaron Jones, we sort of think, I feel like me personally at least, my just initial thought without looking at stats or anything is he's a dominant receiver and he's much better than any other Packers running back when it comes to receiving the football. And when you take a look at his receiving stats as compared to Jamal Williams, they're honestly not that different. So in his past 4 seasons, Aaron Jones has averaged 8.1 yards per reception, and Jamal Williams has averaged 7.9 yards per reception, so just a little bit less than Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones obviously does get a lot more targets in the passing game. I think in the past 4 years, he's averaged 1 more target per game than Jamal Williams. So obviously he's going to have much better stats overall, but Jamal Williams is pretty similar to him when it comes to, his yards per reception. And in the past 4 years, Jamal Williams has 8 receiving touchdowns to Aaron Jones's 4 receiving touchdowns. So I think they're pretty similar when it comes to the receiving area, sort of looking at those stats. Personally, I sort of just assumed Aaron Jones was much better than him, probably because we see so many amazing plays. The sort of just the way I guess that Aaron Jones runs, his ability to juke, do all that kind of stuff that sort of stays in your mind. And so I think it is possible for Jamal Williams to possibly fill that receiving role if Aaron Jones is gone. But one option that I think could be very, very great for this Packers team, I would love to see this happen. So James White, running back for the New England Patriots, is going to be a free agent this offseason. I think he could be an amazing fit for this Packers team. I say, we have A.J. Dillon as the main back. Obviously, he could probably do something in the receiving game. We haven't seen too much from him. I think he has 2 receptions last year, so we don't know what he's going to bring in that area. But I think James White, if Aaron Jones is gone, James White could come in and fill that receiving back role. So let's take a look at James White's stats the past 2 seasons. So he has 16 receiving touchdowns in the past 4 years, which is 8 better than Jamal Williams, which is 12 better than Aaron Jones. So he's been a beast when it comes to receiving the ball. And in 4 seasons, he's averaged 8.6 yards per reception, which is better, 0.5 yards better than Aaron Jones. And in the 2020 season, according to PFF, James White had the 3rd best receiving grade among running backs in the entire NFL. So just imagine for a second, we have A.J. Dillon in there, who I think is going to be a beast in the next few seasons. I think he's going to be unleashed in the next year or two, especially if Aaron Jones isn't here. And then imagine bringing in a guy like James White who can dominate when it comes to the receiving game. I think that could be a dynamic duo at running back. Also, if we have Jamal Williams there, obviously he can do a lot as well. And I think that's sort of my ideal situation if I, could pick for the Packers what they would do. That would sort of be what I would love to see the Packers do in this offseason. There's definitely a lot more running back free agents. I'll definitely cover that more in the future, potential maybe running back free agent the Packers could decide to bring in. So overall, I just don't think we should bring back Aaron Jones as a fan. It's going to be really sad if he does end up going to another team just because, it's fun watching a guy. You come to know guys, you watch him year after year, sort of do what he has done in the past few seasons. So it'll definitely be sad if he doesn't end up on this Green Bay Packers team. But I do think that could be the best option overall. Just being able to pay other positions, pay more on the defense, I think it could be a good option. But I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts, what you guys think, what we should do at the running back position. So let me know down in the comments below. But that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you guys for watching, as always. And don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed this video. And I'll see you guys on the next one.